Welcome to StratFu's Ulduar Strategy video series. I'm Kith, and I'll be explaining the Yogg-Saron strategy. Yogg-Saron is the last boss of normal Ulduar. The fight begins in Phase 1, where you fight Guardians of Yogg-Saron. Each time one of them dies, it explodes with a big shadow nova. If they die next to Sarah in the middle, they reduce her health. This AE you see here is a Guardian casting Dark Volley, and it should never be allowed to go off. Dark Volley must be interrupted because it adds a 25% healing debuff to the entire raid in addition to doing damage. For our kills, we decided to pull all of them to the door and then move them out to her as their health gets lower. We have some ranged follow to finish them off. We also have someone call out when the clouds are bad, and the tank will have to take a long way around to reach Sarah. Those times the DPS must stop early so the mob doesn't die before it reaches her. See those green clouds? Walking into one will spawn another ad. If you do this more than once, you'll get overrun very quickly. The other danger in Phase 1 is that periodically a Guardian will mind control someone. This is dispellable, so just have fast reacting dispellers and there's no need to use PvP trinkets. The only time the mind control is dangerous is when a tank gets mind controlled. The other tanks need to react quickly to pick up his ads. This phase really is about control far more than DPS. After 8 or 9 have exploded next to her, she will turn hostile and Phase 2 will begin. For Phase 2, you will need to split your raid up into 2 groups. The portal group needs enough people so they can kill Yogg-Saron's brain in about 3 or 4 portal cycles. Send your melee down and make sure that you're paying attention to what buffs they need. For example, send a shaman even if it's a resto shaman. Make sure they have the AP buff from a DK or a hunter, etc. We send 8 or 9 people. 6 or 7 DPS, 1 healer, and 1 of our tanks to add debuffs. Your spare tanks can go anywhere. We often keep one up top to help with tentacles, and to help keep a melee slow like Thunderclap up on the tentacles to help mage DPS. The rest of the raid stays up top. Your measure for success in terms of splitting up the raid is 1. Is the bottom getting the brain dead in 3 or 4 portal phases, and 2. Is the top killing all crushers in time to also take out the constrictors. Corruptors are an added bonus. You'll always have some of those laying around. When her health reaches 0, she turns hostile. You will still have some guardians up, so kill them, but remember, they will still explode on death, so don't let them die in the raid. Now is a great time to grab the Kiss and Makeup achievement. Just target Sarah and type /kiss. You can only earn this when she's hostile. Your raid is split into 2 groups, the top tentacle group and the portal group. We'll cover the top tentacle group first. The main job of the group up top is to kill crusher tentacles. If 2 are ever up at once, you will probably fail. Also, don't stand near one. They have a nasty melee attack that hits harder and harder as they're DPS'd. If there's no crushers up, the raid needs to kill constrictors. When all those are dead, kill corruptors. Crushers channel a spell that reduces everyone's DPS by 20%, even down in the portal. If there are 2 up, then everyone's DPS is reduced by 40%. This stacks up to 4 times for up to an 80% loss. If you have problems with Phase 2 DPS, your tank can joust, running in and out to periodically reset the cast of diminished power on the crusher. Constrictors grab a random raid member and deal small amounts of damage to him. You can still attack and heal well in a constrictor. If you do get caught up in one, just keep attacking the crusher. When it's dead, the raid will come and help free you from the constrictor. Corruptors are the smallest tentacles. They die fast, but they're also the least dangerous. They can cast 4 different debuffs, all of which can be cleansed. Curse of Doom is a curse. It explodes for 20k and needs to be removed before it does. Apathy, Black Plague, and Draining Poison all also need to be removed immediately. A shaman with cleansing totems up is excellent at this. Draining Poison is particularly nasty because it drains your mana very quickly as well as your health. When you see the raid message saying, "The illusion shatters and a path to the central chamber opens," this means that the portal group has reached the brain. All the tentacles will be frozen during this period, and the crushers cannot channel diminished power, so the raid DPS will be higher for a bit. The raid needs to stay together for cleanses and heals, as well as to keep constrictors, which only spawn underneath someone, within reach of the raid. Once the first crusher is down, the raid should focus down as many tentacles as possible. Designating someone to be the topside assist can help here. If a new crusher spawns, it's important to call it out and have everyone switch immediately, like you see us doing right here. Healers can often help DPS up here, since a smart raid won't be taking much damage. A hostile Sarah also harasses your raid up top. Death rays are green beams that the raid must avoid. They will chase you and will happily go into sanity wells just to hit you. Malady of the Mind fears you and can run you right across a death ray. Also, at the end of the fear, it will try to jump to someone else within 10 feet of you, so avoid feared people. Psychosis can't be avoided, it's just a 7,500 health loss and a 9% sanity loss. Finally, she will periodically cast Brain Link, which puts up a beam between two people. They must immediately move within 20 yards of each other and stay close until the debuff drops. Otherwise, they both take 3,000 damage and lose 2 sanity every second. If someone takes a portal, however, it does sever the brain link and stops the damage and the sanity loss. One note for Bloodlust. If you want to use Bloodlust in this phase, please know that it will sometimes apply Sated to people in the other realms but not actually lust them. In general, however, it is safe to lust to gain an extra DPS boost here, to make sure you go into Phase 3 as quickly as possible and without too many tentacles up. Just know that you will need to lust the top and bottom separately, unless you lust them when the portal group is up top, which I really wouldn't recommend. A smart raid leader will remind the raid periodically to check their sanity. It can be very easy to get caught up in the fight and not notice that you're dangerously close to being mind-controlled. Anyone who does get mind-controlled needs to be killed, and don't bother battle-resing them. They'll remain mind-controlled even after the battle res goes through. While it might be tempting to stand in DPS in a sanity well, don't. It lowers your DPS. We're about to switch into Phase 3 here, so I'm going to pause this video and show you what was going on in the portals while we were fighting the tentacles. This footage is from Krez, one of our hunters. At the same time the portal career is working, the topside raid is still continuing to fight the tentacles. Portals spawn about once every 90 seconds. Only one person can take each portal, so if you see someone else heading for one, pick a different one. The critical rule of the portals is to never face the skulls, because they are casting lunatic gaze constantly. This drains your sanity and deals damage to you. There are no sanity wells from Freya down here, so you can't afford the sanity loss. If your raid is good at never facing the skulls, you won't need a healer down there. You can send one, however, just in case, and he can DPS when no one needs heals. The raid needs to kill the images and tentacles as quickly as possible to open the path to the brain of Yogg-Saron. Once the brain hits 30%, you will finish this phase and be able to transition to Phase 3. You want to be sure to transition him within 3 or 4 portal phases in order to make the 15-minute enrage timer. Also, the brain channels induce madness starting when the portals spawn. At the end of 60 seconds, anyone still in the portal realm will be mind-controlled by Yogg-Saron. It's critical that everyone takes their portals back up in time and doesn't get mind-controlled. Once the portal group does get up top, they need to refill their sanity quickly, and then kill constrictors and corruptors until the portals spawn again. Note that this tentacle killing is pretty critical, so you don't go into Phase 3 with too many tentacles up. After the brain is brought to 30%, Phase 3 begins. If you're watching this on YouTube, please follow the link below in video responses to see the last third of the movie, Phase 3.